Alright guys, sweet, sticky, syrupy perfumes. You know you love this type of perfume, don't you? Well, you know what? I find them to be appropriate for cold days, and I've got 14 here and a bonus option for you guys. Find out about sweet, sticky, syrupy perfumes coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian. We're talking about the sweetest, I should say, stickiest, most syrupy perfumes in this video. Lots of sweet notes, really intense sweet notes. We've got maple syrup, we've got honey, caramel, uber vanillic, ambery fragrances, but all of them are uber sweet. And if you like that kind of fragrance, these are the ones for you. Let me know if you have a favorite that you enjoy a lot. Let me know if you enjoy sweet. I know it's a bit of a polarizing topic. A lot of people don't like it extremely sweet, but then I know there's a lot of you that enjoys really uber sugary sweet fragrances. Let me know which side you fall on, and let me know what it is that you like sweet fragrances for and why you don't like sweet fragrances. And of course, let me know which sweet fragrances you enjoy the most. Let's get started with the list. Going to the house of GUERLAIN. This is Tobacco Honey. Yeah, it's full of honey, but you know what? I feel like even though it's sweet, the sweetness is cut with the tobacco note in here. So it's not only honey, but it's a lot of tobacco with vanilla. There's vanilla. There's also oud, sesame seeds, sandalwood, and tonka. But it's uber sweet, super delicious. I like the whole tobacco honey combo. It's great, kind of like the similar idea to tobacco vanille, but this is more about the honey with the tobacco. And they do play wonderfully together. It's also big and loud and super delicious for me. It's sweet, but I can totally tolerate this. It smells great in the winter months, the cold days. This is Tobacco Honey from the house of GUERLAIN. Going to the house of Atelier d'Azur, this is Rouge SARAY, this one right here. Now this to me acts like it's syrupy, sticky, sweet. It's all very gooey because there's this kind of honeyed, ambery notes, balsamic notes in here. Feels like they're drizzled on top of the fruity notes of dates and plums in this. Not only do we have the balsamic notes of the Peru balsam, there's the dates and plums, there's loads of cinnamon and also vanilla, but we also have some patchouli and guaiac wood. It's one of the best fragrances from this house. I'm waiting for an extract. But they just launched a vintage edition, which is aged in some kind of barrels. Anxious to get my nose on those. But this is Rouge SARAY, my favorite from the house of Atelier d'Azur, and definitely on the sweet, sticky, gooey, syrupy side. But next, going to the house of Born to Stand Out. This is Drunk Maple, this one right here. I've got two maple-focused fragrances back to back. In fact, the next one is Followed. Honestly, guys, if you're looking for an alternative to Followed, if you cannot tolerate the intensity of this fragrance, you've got Drunk Maple. Although there's coffee in both, but for me, I get more of a coffee breakfast experience in Followed compared to Drunk Maple. But this is maple syrup, soft suede, there's rum, coffee resinoid, Orcanox, Davana, Benzoin, vanilla, pink pepper, sandalwood. It's super sticky, sweet, and syrupy for sure, but also powdery at the same time. And of course, you've got a bit of a breakfast kind of an idea, but I get more of a breakfast idea with the following fragrance called Followed. But in the end, I think it would make for a great alternative if you find Followed to be uber intense and a fragrance you can't wash off. Try Drunk Maple. But still, both of them are super sweet, sticky, syrupy, gooey. But moving on to Followed, as I said, it's the more intense version, and I've gotten multiple videos on this one. But there's also rumors out there that it doesn't perform. The one I have, I don't know. I've got one that you can't wash off. It takes days, weeks, months. In fact, there's a jacket I have that I rarely wear. When I pull it out, I still get whiffs of it, and it's been almost 2 years since it got sprayed on there. I don't spray my clothes generally, but when I first sprayed this, it kind of fell on my pants, and the pants totally started smelling like it. I had to get them dry cleaned at least 2 or 3 times. Finally, the smell was off. But this is like a breakfast in a bottle. Very sticky, sugary, sweet, and also maple syrupy, so it has powdery touches. But the coffee in this one is definitely more pronounced than the coffee in Drunk Maple. But again, as I was saying, if this one is too strong for you, if it follows you everywhere, try Drunk Maple. I think it might be It's still pretty potent, but not as potent as Followed. But still, very sweet, sticky, syrupy, gooey fragrance there that I would say use caution wearing. So up next, going to the house of DORA, it's JANY, this one right here. Are you familiar with this one? This one was featured in a Scent Club kit last summer. I believe it was kit number 10. I think 10. Again, this is an uber sweet fragrance. It's the idea of a tarte tartan. I don't know if you guys know what this is. It's kind of like a French style apple pie. And I've got another one coming after this with a similar idea. But this, man, is so sweet, so sugary, so sticky, caramelly, gooey fragrance. Like if it's overly sugary, you're smelling something tooth-rottingly sweet here. But lots of spices like cinnamon, there's fruity notes like baked apples, and there's apricots in this as well. Puff pastry, caramel, almonds, vanilla, nutty notes, white musk, osmanthus, plums, peaches. All of these notes come in. It's uber fruity, uber sweet, very sticky, gooey. And I think it's quite delicious, and I really, really love it. What do you guys think about this one? This is JANY. And then we've got Le Tarte Tatin from the house of JOUSSET Parfums. You guys know this one? This is actually called Le Tarte Tatin, or it's inspired by, but both of them I feel like are very Tarte Tatin inspired. In this one, in the JOUSSET Le Tarte Tatin, I get like a real experience of the butter that goes into creating caramel. It's a very buttery experience here. Like there's a lot of buttery, kind of like rich, thick, buttery smell. But it's lots of caramel with vanilla beans, vanilla, apples, brown sugar, tonka beans, and a bit of salt to throw in a bit of a contrast. But in the end, it's sweet and syrupy, very sticky, gooey experience here. It's a very sweet gourmand fragrance, totally inspired by Tarte Tatin. I should also clarify, this is not as fruity as JANY, so if you don't like the idea of fruity, I think the Le Tarte Tatin might be it for you. In fact, I find the apples to be on the faint side, not super strong, but still super delicious, I think. So that's Le Tarte Tatin from the house of JOUSSET Parfums. Up next, going to the house of Zoologist Perfumes, this is B. So B is also super sticky, gooey, and sugary sweet. You guys like this one? It's my favorite from the house still, with Rabbit being number 2. I really enjoy these two. But this is all about honey, royal jelly. There's benzoin here, vanilla, mimosa, heliotrope, broom, orange blossom, sandalwood, lavender, musks. So it eventually becomes very ambery, but along the way it's also very floral. And so it's a combination of this honeyed experience, sweet, gooey, sticky, but also very powdery and very floral, eventually settling to a woody, ambery, musky experience. Super, super delicious, but super sweet. This is B from the house of Zoologist Perfumes. Moving on to the house of Giardini di Toscana. It's Bianco Latte, this one right here. Are you a fan of this one? This is a very sweet and sticky fragrance, although it's also very lactonic, but wears very sticky, sweet, and syrupy. And of course, you've got that lactonic milky effect happening in here as well. The fragrance is all about caramel, vanilla, coumarin, which is tonka beans, and white musks. But there's a very sweet ice cream or whipped cream kind of an effect happening here with this fragrance. So you experience this very creamy consistency when you're wearing it, but it acts very sweet, very gooey, very sticky and sugary. But it's a delicious fragrance, one of the best from this house, and I feel like it has a huge, huge, huge following. It's Bianco Latte from the house of Giardini di Toscana. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. And then moving on to the house of new notes, it's Caramello Vanilla. So I like the idea of caramel. It gives you that kind of sticky, gooey experience in fragrances. With the addition of vanilla here, it's super delicious, very cozy as well. And I feel like all of these fragrances that I'm recommending here are going to be perfect for the cold days. It's gotten cold here, and that's why I'm doing this video, because it's so cold. These fragrances literally warm me up. So this has dulce de leche, caramel, vanilla berries, vanilla flower, musk, tonka beans, white flowers, cotton candy, and frangipani. But super delicious, lightly floral, very sticky and gooey and sweet. The cool thing about this one also, it has light hints, light under there. It has musk, so it has light hints of musk ravageur. When you layer this with their other fragrance called Musk Complexity, you get a musk ravageur experience, but more of a beastly, intense, super delicious. Both of them together are amazing, but on its own, it's super sticky, gooey, very, very sweet and sugary. a vanilla caramel fragrance. So it's Caramello Vanilla from the house of New Notes. Let me know if you're familiar with that. This next one's, man, it's just an experience. The actual concentration of the fragrance is actually sticky, whereas a lot of these fragrances, the actual wear and the smell is sticky. This one is actually also sticky in the actual concentration of the fragrance. So it's super strong. I think this is like a 40% concentration. So it's Vampirum from the house of Lorenzo Pazzalia, and it features 5 different kinds of vanilla, along with tonka beans, caramel, patchouli, white flowers, rum, and black vanilla beans. So it's an overdose of vanilla, very gooey. This is like super sticky and very thick. You have to really mix it. I'm kind of using the idea of the sticky, gooey consistency, like you're baking with or something, or cooking with. That's how it wears. It's extremely dense. It's really thick, but it's very sugary, very sweet, slight booziness, and then some stickiness and ambery touches are in there as well. This is Vampirum from the house of Lorenzo Pazzalia. But next, going to the house of Papillon Artisan Perfumes, or Papillon Perfumery. This is Bengale Rouge, this one right here. So this to me kind of reminds me of the Guerlain Shalimar fragrance, but like I feel like it's overdosed with a sugary vanilla. So some people might not get that. To me, I get it, but I'm kind of putting myself in the place of Shalimar, but overdosed with sugar, as I said. This is extremely sweet, one of the sweetest fragrances from this house. In fact, I think it's the only sweet fragrance, and you have to tolerate that uber tooth-rottingly sweetness that you get with this one. But it's a lot of tonka beans, honey, a Opanax, vanilla, sandalwood, oak moss, and there is a light rosy touch when it's, you know, kind of settling on skin in the heart notes section of the fragrance. But again, it wears very honeyed, very sticky, very gooey, and super sweet. But I like that whole light reminder of Shalimar from Guerlain. But if you like the idea of Shalimar, you want something a lot more sweet, try Bengale Rouge from the house of Papillon Perfumery. And then moving on to the house of Dior. It's the Dior Privé collection. It's Vanilla Diorama. This is uber sweet, guys. I feel like the more I wear this, the more it becomes sweet on me. And there's nothing wrong with sweet fragrances. I know a lot of people love them and a lot of people hate them. If you love sweet vanilla fragrances, you gotta try this. It's also boozy and powdery. There's some light citruses under there and a bit of dusting of chocolate cocoa thing happening here. It's inspired by a dessert, and it's super delicious. Become my favorite Dior Privé fragrance. It's also intense and very long lasting. That's what I like about it, and I like that intensity of the sweetness, and of course the reminder of something decadent like a dessert, but just a really nicely done fragrance. One of the last fragrances created by Francois Dumarche before Francis Crick-Chun took over for him. He left us with a great fragrance. This is Vanilla Diorama from the house of Dior Privé collection. A few more fragrances to go. We've got one from the Bodicea de Victorious house. This is the latest fragrance, and I feel like it's super sweet. This is Defender. Are you guys familiar with this one? Man, this one actually, I love sweet fragrances. I'm overwhelmed by the sweetness, and a little goes a long way for me. I don't understand why. It just like I spray one or two, and it's like, okay, this is enough. And I'm a lover of sweet fragrances, so this is pretty overwhelming. It's a honey bomb, basically, and it's so super intense with the honey, but there's also ginger along the way. There's orange blossom, night blooming jasmine, there's myrrh, musks, tonka, red fruits, Peru balsam, red amber, benzoin, licorice, hay, cistus labdanum, leather, grapefruit. There's a lot going on here. Eventually it becomes a sweet amber, powdery, slightly leathery, but along the way you have citruses and floral notes and musks and fruits that come in, but it's the honey that dominates, and it becomes really super intense, and it sweetens up on skin, mixing with the resins and also the ambery touches. Really super sugary sweet, sticky, gooey. This is Defender from the house of Bodicea de Victorious. And then I'm going to end the list here with a Kayali fragrance. It's called Vanilla Royal Sugared Patchouli 64. Boy, this is sweet. Really sweet. And even though there's patchouli in here, I thought the patchouli would cut it through and actually kind of tone down the sugary sweetness. It really doesn't. So, and I feel like they've amplified the sweetness so much that the patchouli cuts through a bit, but it really doesn't do a job of, toning it down. But there's a lot of vanilla here. There's brown sugar, there's patchouli, spicy notes, there's sugar, amber, musk, creme brulee, rum, leather. Lots going on. If you like the idea of a uber sweet vanilla fragrance that has some earthy touches of the patchouli, but along the way boozy touches and amber and things like that, you gotta try this one. Just be warned, it's super, super sweet. Syrupy, sticky, gooey, all that comes to mind. But this is Vanilla Royale Patchouli, Sugared Patchouli 64, and that's the last fragrance for you guys. What are your thoughts on these fragrances? Do you consider them super sugary sweet, sticky, gooey fragrances? Let me know. Put a comment down below. And also let me know if you have any other recommendations for uber sweet fragrances that are gooey, sticky, sugary, syrupy, all that good stuff. Put a comment down so I can find out. But thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions or comments, list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Alright, I've got one bonus option for you guys today. It's from the house of Born to Stand Out. I'm going back to that house. We've got a fragrance called Sugar Addict. And I was remembering some comments I had received about this fragrance. Some of you were complaining that it was too simplistic. There's a reason for that. It is actually a fragrance sweetener. As you can see right here, it says fragrance sweetener. And there's a reason for that. You can wear it on its own because it's kind of simplistic. But this is kind of like an enhancer, primer, in this case a sweetener. So basically, if you want to sweeten up your fragrances even further, any of these that are super sweet, sticky, gooey, syrupy, sugary fragrances, and you want more sugar, you want more sweetness, you can do that with this Sugar Addict. Basically, you would spray this, let it dry, and spray the other on top, and you'd have a sugar bomb kind of a thing. But on its own, it's a sweet, kind of ambery fragrance, a bit musky. And where simplistic, it's not necessarily a skin scent, but it's also not something that fills a room. It's just made the right way. And I really like what they've done here with this. I think more brands should do fragrances like this. Fragrances that are used to enhance and to, layer with and to prime and things like that. I really love the idea of this. It's a fragrance sweetener, Sugar Addict by the House of Born to Stand Out. And again, as I said, you can wear it on its own, more simplistic, but boost up any of your fragrances and make them a lot sweeter. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. See you guys later. Bye-bye.